Hi, in today's video I want to share with you a student example of a film review on The Parent Trap. By reviewing the components of this model of academic writing, will give you a really good idea of what I'm expecting in the review assignment. So first of all, let's look at this beginning paragraph. This should be familiar to you. You should have already read this and taken the quiz on this. But the introduction is really strong because she puts the film in context. She lets us know that this version of Parent Trap that she's reviewing is a remake. She also makes sure to let us know who the filmmaker is and reminds us of that filmmaker's other works. And she also does a great job of giving us the year as well. Then after that, she follows it with a brief summary of what the film is about, and she follows the conventions of naming the character, Haley Parker, immediately followed by the actress in parentheses who played Haley Parker, in this case, Lindsay Lohan. The other thing that is really strong about this essay is that she ends her introduction, her first paragraph, with a really strong thesis statement right here. The Parent Trap is an amusing, family-friendly film that offers delightful characters, impressive acting, and a heartwarming tale that illustrates an estranged family finding their way back together again. So she gives us a preview of what her criteria is going to be in her thesis, and she gives us her overall judgment of the film. Two things that I highly recommend you should do. Then let's briefly look at her topic sentences. The other thing that I really appreciate about this writer is that she has clear, strong topic sentences that announce the criteria she's going to be talking about. In her thesis, she told us she was going to be talking about characters. In her first main point paragraph, she says, the compilation of characters is a charismatic bunch that mesh well with each other, almost perfectly. And then she spends the rest of that paragraph discussing her criteria of characters and what made those characters so great. On your own, you can review the strength of her other topic sentences. On her criteria main points, she talks about the talented actors, and then she goes on to talk about the comedic encounters and heartfelt scenes. These are well-developed paragraphs because they give us specific details from the film to really back up her point. Let's take a closer look at her counter-argument paragraph. So I'm going to read parts of it and then point out what she's doing. So she begins by saying a few critics have been cynical about this remake due to its similarities to its predecessor. Right there at the beginning of her counter-argument paragraph, she's introducing her counterclaim. And she makes it very clear that it's a counterclaim and that it's not her own opinion by pointing out that it's a few critics that have said this, that have been cynical. Another way you can introduce your counter-argument is to actually quote a critic, according to critic A.O. Scott, and then give us what his criticism is that you disagree with. That's another way to set up your counterclaim. And she does that here. She follows it with that. One reviewer, John R. McEwen, even pointed out it's just a warmed-up 1961 model. And she gives us a slight concession when she says both versions have nearly the same running time and essentially the same plot. So that's a little bit of a concession where she's like, yeah, you're right. These movies are identical. But then she gets into a really strong rebuttal when she says, however, they've used these points negatively when they could be positive, okay? She spends the rest of this paragraph then in rebuttal. She's saying, okay, well, there's a lot of great chock-full plot that they've got to get through, otherwise the movie wouldn't make sense. And then she even uses another source critic to further offer a counterclaim and give her ideas of how she's going to refute it too. So she says, yeah, he's right. There could have been a more reasonable running time, but then she offers another rebuttal, but then we wouldn't have these amusing antics. And then she ends with another great point that shoots down these critics And that's the point that says that not everyone has seen the original Parent Trap, so they needed to give this information. It's not a sequel, which is a key point here. All right, let's talk a little bit about formatting. So this is nearly perfectly formatted, and it's exactly what I would like you to do in your version. She's using Times New Roman 12-point font. She has double spaced everything. She's used a properly formatted header at the beginning on the first page. Right here, it only appears on the first page, not on the second page. She's also put her last name and the page number in the top upper right-hand corner. And that follows on every page. Let's take a quick look at her Works Cited page. She also lists the 3 sources that she quoted from. You can, on your own time, take a look at how she used her quotes. She integrated them very well by always identifying who the source was that the quote came from. And she either did that in her sentence, or she used an in-text citation and put the critic's last name in parentheses. You should do that as well. Okay, and then she follows perfect MLA formatting, and that simply is author last name first, then their first name, then the title here of the article, then the title of the website where she got the article in italics, the date it was published, and then the URL. And again, you can look up all this MLA formatting stuff in your textbook. But I hope by taking a closer look at this example, you'll get a better idea of what's expected in this essay and what it's supposed to look like. Good luck. And as always, please email me or drop by during my office hours in Zoom or call me if you have any questions.